It's on now.
Hello, Pretty Casual Gaming. It's your main host, Tehnoobcake. With me, as always, is Slandy. Say hello.
Hello.
And with us for the first time as an official member of the team, it's Logix.
Hello.
So, to explain the situation with Logix before we get into anything else, he's joining in full time into the Pretty Casual Gaming crew, those of us who make the content. He won't be doing as much as me and Slandy because he's going to work more as an editor to help Slandy, delegate tasks and free up time so that neither of them burn out, so they're both editing. But hopefully he'll be in a few podcasts as well as obviously an official member of the hosts. So for this week, obviously with it being our first live podcast, obviously most of them have gone just straight to YouTube as me and Slandy record them non-live and then put it into YouTube. We are planning on having what I've dubbed the Pretty Casual Conversation. Usually, obviously, we talk about games or news on games, but we thought this time we'd make it so that we can just talk and kind of have a week free from games, really, so that we mix up and don't burn out on a single subject. One of the things that I actually wanted to talk about is something that's really big in my life at the moment, which is taking care of your health and trying to find stuff that makes you happy, really. So I don't know about you two guys, but I saw some counseling, and one of the things that I really realized with myself is that I want to be more productive. And obviously, everyone says they want to be more productive, but it's about actually taking that first step into being productive. And so one of the things I'm doing at the moment, small step as it is, but it's kind of like letting me move forward from where I've been, where I've just been sat in a chair all day playing games for most days, for maybe like the last year or two. But I'm just starting by I run up and down I've got really old school British building stairs, so they're really steep, and I run up and down them 5 times every morning, and then 5 times before I come back up after I've had like my breakfast and my lunch and stuff. And also I go out on a walk every morning now. It's not far, but just enough to slowly build up my muscles, and really get me started. My goal eventually is to actually take a jog all the way down to the pier at the end of Whitby, and then sit there for an hour or so in the morning, and then come back. So I don't know if you two wanted to talk about anything that you do to try keep yourself fit, or exercise or anything like that.
Actually, I like for a few weeks ago, I started in this project in my region here in Denmark, where we are building a campfire hut, and then we are training also to run a half marathon in November. So it's Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays we are actually doing some training. And some running and bicycling and everything. So
What's is the marathon for like a charity or something, or is it just to try push yourselves?
I think there's a small what did you call it again? Charity behind it as well, but I'm not completely sure.
And Logix, I've known you since we were small, and you've always been, out of the two of us, ironically, the more fit one, despite being probably the more computer savvy. You would never believe it. Like, if you put us next to each other in person, you'd never believe it. You was the one who actually did way more exercise, but you've always been more active. And I know you actually told me about a workout routine you've been doing, so I'd love to hear more about that.
So yeah, I cycle most days. Obviously now we're allowed to actually go out, and usually just sit by the lake or something for a while. It does wonders for your mental health and your physical health. And yeah, I've started doing a little bit of working out, which surprisingly isn't as bad as you think. seems to actually give me energy as opposed to taking it, which is strange.
I think the biggest step with exercising will always be taking that first step. Because obviously you need the will, right, to actually work out. And you know, I don't think any of us are aiming to be some big buff gym freaking
No.
monkey kind of superhuman. But I know personally, it's less about how I look physically. You know, I've got on the bulkier side recently compared to what I used to be like. And I'm not too fussed about how I look physically because I'm, you know, I'm not like massively obese and taking up the whole freaking pathway, but I've put on a bit of weight, and it's less for me that I want to work out for the sake of visuals. I'm not that fussed. It's more I want to just live healthier in general and live happier through health. Any of your guys waiting in on that?
Yeah.
mean, yeah.
It's basically the same with me. I am on the good side of overweight basically, and I kind of wanted to get started with some training to just lose some weight and everything, but I was like a bit lazy. But I needed I needed grip to actually push the last to get started and so on. So and
As I,
and the training I'm doing in my region, we are like, I think we are around 8 to 10 people showing up each Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday. So we are not alone in it, and we're doing it all together.
as I say, I think the biggest thing is that first step because I've wanted to work out for ages. I used to longboard, which was kind of like skateboarding, and I still actually own my longboards, and I'm still physically capable of doing it. I went out like a few weeks ago and completely, but I can do it, and then when I get home, I regret it because obviously my body's not done it in so long, so my body just kills for like days straight. And I'd love to get back into longboarding now that I'm actually living in a town where it has good pavement, because like that's the biggest problem with longboarding is if you have bad pavement, it's just horrible to do. And as I say, I went out one day, and this was before I'd started actually like slowly working up my muscles again by doing the stairs and taking these walks. And so I just went out, and I went out for like a couple of hours, and I just full on belted it down on my longboard, and it just KO'd me. And I realized that I can't do what I used to do, which is I used to literally live, and I went out every day on my longboard. I'd go all the way from one side of the city I lived in to the other, just to get into town and go see people and stuff like that. And obviously, because I've just been set down, I've just got no muscle in my legs, so I got really killed. Um, but most of me didn't want to do other than longboarding. But obviously, I can't do my longboarding because I need to build up my strength in my body first. And it was like, oh, you know, what can I do? I could go jogging, but then I was like really paranoid about, you know, going out and having people see me jogging about and flailing about with my body fat and stuff like that. Because I'm actually surprisingly quite like anxious about other people, despite the way I am. And so I just tried to find a way that I could take that first step, and it's slowly getting easier and easier. And then I'll take the next step, you know, like walk a bit further or start to jog it in the morning instead of walking, and just jog a certain distance to where I'm comfortable with, and then jog further after a bit and stuff like that. So it's like I've set myself these small goals to get from where I am now to where I wanted it to be.
Yes.
And then, as I say, I'd love to go jogging in the morning eventually and be able to go all the way to the pier at the end of Whitby and just sit out in the morning looking over the sea. Because the benefit of where I live is beautiful view. It's a proper tourist attraction in England. So to be able to, you know, I live here, I can go get that view just any day I want. But because I've been such an inside person and lacking the motivation really to push myself, I've just not gone and admired the view.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think when you don't do exercise for a while, it's something that diminishes itself. So, like, it seems we found that out the hard way. Like, I stopped cycling for a while, and because my bike broke, and after that it was a little bit tough for a while.
Yeah.
So
You've
you
got
have to get back into it and sort of stagger up in intensity or whatever, and just start off small.
I mean, really, it's no different than a gaming. If you know, on a game, if you fucking set it to a higher difficulty, you focus more like grinding in a certain area before you move to the next one. It's no different from that, really, if you think about it.
No. Small steps while training and keep improving on it. Like keep on doing small steps and still increase the running or bicycling or whatever you do, but make sure you push yourself, but not too far like you're feeling like you are going to die here in a second or something.
Yeah, it's definitely best not to risk that I'm going to die tomorrow.
Yeah.
Kind of.
I have a small example here from yesterday. We were out like bicycling for around 30 kilometers, and by the end of it, I had to stop with my group because I had the feeling of like I needed to puke. So I knew I pushed my body to the limit there. So I had to take a break and everything. So know your limits at least, and then take a small break and then continue until you feel like you're exhausted enough.
So keeping on the topic of like taking first steps to do stuff that's making us happier in life, one of my things obviously that I wanted to do for a long time, it's something I came actually to you like years ago, Sandy, like when we first met quite early on, that I wanted to do was obviously this podcast and streaming and stuff like that. And that was surprisingly a big step. Like I didn't think it would hit, because I've done streaming before, and back then I went in it full on with confidence, arrogance more than confidence, honestly. You know, I went in thinking I'd just immediately go, the trajectory would just be like up, 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 up. But obviously, it doesn't work that way. Everyone knows that. It's a slog and a work, and you've just got to keep producing and not let the lack of views or lack of subscribers and stuff like that get you down. It's a time thing, really. Like the more commitment you put into it, the more you're eventually going to get out of it. You can't expect it to immediately come out. But obviously, one of the big things there is starting this. The mindset I had to get myself in was very much that mindset that it's going to take time. But also there was an anxiety like freaking crazy, and even to this video it still hits me. There's there obviously you helped me, Sandy, with the editing for even the videos that are just for me, and when we recorded the intros, all I had to do was say a small little like half a fucking minute intro, but we actually took longer just waiting for me to get the guts to say the first hello
Yeah.
before we could even record, because there's just that anxiety that it hits you like a truck before you're going to go. And even when it's not live, there's still that anxiety, which I think is crazy. I don't know if either of you guys get that, because obviously, Slandy, you've been streaming for a fair while now, but I'm sure you still get that.
Yeah, I do. Also, it come and goes from time to time. And when I started, was that three and a half year ago, I think.
Long time ago.
Yeah. The first things I wanted when I started was getting a webcam and a mic, of course. Those were my essential items I wanted to have on my stream. And still, like you said, there was this giant, enormous anxiety behind it. But like we said with the training and stuff, it is the first steps, and afterwards it gets better, but it doesn't like get easier if you have a anxiety behind it. So it's a progress that you continuously work on. So
Yeah, you've got to build on what you start, really.
yeah,
And like with obviously this, it's the more podcasts we've gone along, I've still got that anxiety, but I'm getting more confident each video. And with my own streaming, that first stream I did of it was Haven, I think my first episode of was Haven. And even though we'd been doing the podcast, actually doing that, and as I say, I had live streamed before, but being older and being more aware of how it's going to work, getting bigger as a streamer, the anxiety hit me way harder because I was lacking that arrogance, which was really funny to me because, like, as I say, when I first went for streaming, Logix was actually my editor back then, so he's fully aware because he felt it the same. What we did then was we recorded for like a day straight from start of the day to the finish, and we just recorded tons of different games and videos that we were going to split up and, he Logix would edit and it would then get put on YouTube. But then I'd burnt myself out and refused to freaking stream again for like a month or two. And then
yeah,
Logix editing burnt himself out editing. It was just like, yeah, no, there's no more I can do. So like 90, like a good like 90-80% of what we'd actually recorded didn't even ever get to YouTube because
yeah,
we just completely steamrolled ourselves out. And obviously, with the Pretty Casual Gaming, it's been more of a I'm being smarter and slow burning it. Like, don't get me wrong, I'd love to be at a point at some point where I can stream daily or bi-daily, or at least release something a day of some sort, even if it's just something like half an hour long. Um, but definitely in this start, I think it's like you said with the workout, you've got to not push yourself past your limits. And when you're starting, that anxiety will hit you like a truck. So doing that daily and getting hit with that anxiety, it will just burn you right out.
yeah,
I don't know how you feel about all that Logix, because obviously, as I say, you were my editor in the
Yeah, I
past.
mean, I streamed on Twitch for a little while, doing games and a bit of programming, and yeah, the anxiety, the initial anxiety, just hits you like a flood, and if you can't push past it, then you're not going to get anywhere. I was able to push through it to an extent. I find it easier when I have friends in the chat or hanging out.
Yeah, for sure.
The reason that I stopped streaming is because I didn't really tend or want to end up getting like really big or anything like that. I just wanted to stream for a few friends and like not let it continue to escalate too much. But obviously, if that's what you want, then it becomes a challenge for sure. And
yeah.
yeah, definitely don't definitely don't do what we did and just steamroll a bunch of content out all at once and then regret it afterwards. You need to pace yourself and find your limits, know them, uh, and not push yourself too much.
Yeah,
Well, obviously, streaming wise with this channel, it's quite safe to say that at the core of it, it's my channel. I've been streaming the most to it, using it as my actual gaming live streaming. Obviously, it's a joint project, so I intend to make sure it's that. At some point, I'd love to get Slandy to move his Final Fantasy gameplay onto Pretty Casual Gaming for reasons that he knows, I feel. I won't say it here, but he understands why I'd rather him be here doing it. Um, but I have got, obviously you've been in my streams. I've got multiple games that I'm actually playing live at the moment, but I'm trying to space out when I stream and only stream on a day if I really feel like I can stream. Because the last couple of days I've not streamed anything, and it's
yeah,
just because I didn't feel like I'd be able to stream stuff. And obviously, if you are going to stream, you want to have. I feel like I don't bring enough energy to a stream as it is, because compared to what I used to be like, I'm much more like grounded and very low energy compared to what I used to be like. Which is weird because when I'm in a call, I always feel like I'm really high energy. But then when I watch my own streams, I look at it and I go, Jesus Christ, I could have been more reactive. um, but one of the things I want to do is stream. I want to live stream plenty of games, but there's only one, only one of the ones I'm doing currently. I will focus on as a series, which obviously at the moment is my Haven series. And I've got a game plan for that as well. Kenna Bridge of Spirits is something I want to stream once that comes out in August. So I'd like to get Haven done really before that. And then after Kenna, obviously Endwalker will be the big one, because obviously I'm going to play that like crazy. Like every other game that exists is just going to get ignored. And I kind of know in estimate how many episodes Haven's going to take. So I'm trying to space it out enough I just don't burn out playing the game. But also I'm at the same time with the whole actually producing it kind of thing, I want to get it done before August so I can move on to Kenna when it comes out. Thankfully I found out that that's actually at the end of August, so I've got like a good 2.5 months really until that's done. But yeah, it really is about finding that perfect balance that you don't just completely exhaust yourself. And one of the things I really find about it streaming this is it really takes up your energy, even if you want to work, like even if you're just doing what you do on a normal day, it really takes up a lot of energy. And I think that might be to do with the anxiety really. But obviously I sit playing my games all day and sit in voice chat whilst I'm gaming. And that's essentially all streaming really is just talking, but without that. But because you've got to like actively think about you're trying to be entertaining, even if like you're not trying, like even if you think you're not trying, subconsciously you are, and that really exhausts you. So another thing is learning your limits in length, not just in quantity of streams, but how long you're able to stream for.
Yeah.
Which for Haven, obviously, I've set 1 hour periods. But when I streamed Fallout 4, I streamed for 4 hours, and by the time I was done, I went to sleep like an hour later. Like I was so tired. I don't know if
Yeah.
you've had that, Slandy and Logix, obviously.
Yeah, definitely. When I was streaming my programming streams, I went for hours and hours and hours, and then afterwards I was just like, I had no energy left at all. And you get like a sore throat, and it's just like talking for that amount of time is painful, especially if like when you do programming itself, you have, you're talking the whole time non-stop. You need to remember to just take a break every now and then and just stop talking for like a minute or not even that, instead of just blasting it out for 4 or 5 hours non-stop, because that hurts.
Yeah.
Slandy, you were going to say something, I think.
Yeah, it kind of depends on what games I play at times. Like Resident Evil, I basically stream for one day I streamed for like 14 hours.
Yeah, I know. I came in and told you to go to bed.
Yep. When I started tweeting for 3 years ago, or when it was, I did do some long streams as well at that time, but I didn't really like put too much focus or energy. It was just to get started and to get a feel for it. So I put a lot of hours into it, and that time it was both in mostly in Danish. And when Bait Sauce, my first viewer, he came, I slowly switched over to English slowly. So that was when I also started to speak a bit more English in my real life. Like the last time I actually spoke like English before I streamed was in my elementary school, and that's like 15, 16 years ago. I did, of course, I played a lot of video games and everything, but I wasn't on voice comms or anything. So in that sense, I didn't speak English at all. So basically, what you're hearing now with my English talking at the moment, I have more or less learned here in the last 3 years while I've been on Twitch. So
So still fairly new to English.
yeah, I'm still learning, and I know that, and yeah.
Keeping
So
on being healthy. Before we continue, I'm just going to advise we all take a quick drink.
Yes,
Mhm.
it's
It's a good idea.
So considering I finished drinking first, one of the things that keeping on streaming that I'm really trying to get into my head is like the building process. Because obviously, you know, I accept that I both, the channel isn't gonna grow at an exponential rate. We're not just gonna fucking skyrocket. I learned that from my last one, and I've come into it this time with less arrogance. But obviously, I still want it to build. My intentions for the channel is, you know, to still get viewers. I'm not bothered about being like the most well-known fucking streamer in existence, but I'd love to have some level of a viewer base. I enjoy sharing games. One of my big problems actually is that most single-player games I can't play unless I'm like having someone watch me. So streaming is a big thing for me because I like to share that experience with other people, which is weird because if you actually watch me, like as I say, I don't seem quite reactory. It's a strange balance that I'm trying to like internally figure out because I do obviously get excited about stuff. And if you've ever heard me talk straight for Final Fantasy, we had it on the Final Fantasy 14 Endwalker podcast. You know, I went 2 hours and barely stopped for breath.
yeah.
There is that excitement and that joy in me, but I don't know what it is about me, you know, whether it's mental problems or physical problems or anything like that, just the way I am in general. But I don't feel like I expressively show it. And that's something that I want to work on getting obviously better with on the streams. But that's another thing is that I don't want to force myself to be expressive. I don't want to. I want to be expressive, but I want it to be natural and like actually felt. Like I don't want to be one of these really hyper energy streamers that you see. But it's so obviously an act. I still want to be authentic to myself,
Mm.
but also whilst being entertaining enough to um, attract more viewers. And what I'm trying to do at the moment is build on that as well. And even my equipment, like I'm using a really crappy 720p Logitech webcam that I probably got from Tesco for like 10 quid. I can't even remember when I got it. I just have it. And my mic, I'm using the single headphone mic, which was like 13, 14 quid. And I actually got this for the sake of doing raiding in gaming. So that because obviously I play PlayStation and Discord is only on PC at the moment. It's not on PlayStation yet. So I bought this so that I could listen to my game and talk to people on Discord. But I'd love to get a proper headset so that when I stream, I can obviously hear my game and still have a mic. And I'd love to get a better camera at some point. And I'd love to find a way to plug my proper microphone that we got back when I did my streaming before. I'd love to find a way to plug that into my laptop, but I think I need an adapter. But like, rather than just like forking out all this money straight out the bat and being like, yeah, I need this all for streaming, it's more, I have equipment right now that at least on some level works for the job I need it for. And so I will use that. And if it's shit quality, it's shit quality. But I'm at the beginning of my career really in YouTube. I say career, God knows if it'll ever become that. But I'm starting off. I don't need to focus so hard on getting ridiculously good equipment, which is again one of the things I did in arrogance. When we started last time, I actually got given a loan by my grandparents for like £1,000, which was the most money I'd ever just been given straight up. And obviously, I went out of my way to buy all this really good equipment, and it didn't end up serving a purpose because I burnt myself out. So this time, I'm upgrading my equipment step by step as I go, just like I'm trying to manage my workouts step by step, and like I'm me as a person, as a streamer, I'm trying to grow step by step. I think in life, like it's teaching me a lot about like life in general. Is that I need to learn to, because obviously we all set goals, and I know like I keep moving the conversation in a weird way, but we all set goals, and I think too many of us set ourselves that we need to be at this goal like tomorrow, and we don't understand that stuff's going to take years.
And
Like
you set the goal a little bit too high sometimes.
pardon?
You set the goal a little bit too high as well for yourself.
Yeah,
You're like,
and
I need the best equipment right now.
Yeah,
to
and
get
even
going.
yeah, as you say, even if you want that best equipment, you should set yourself goals on such a smaller scale. Like, oh, well, I'm currently using this Logitech camera. What's the next cheapest but also better option that I can upgrade to? What's I'm using this headset. What's a cheap but better option I can upgrade to? And I don't have a lot of money coming in, and so I need to focus on the fact that I don't have a lot of money coming in right now. So I shouldn't try just get the best equipment just for the sake of something that could, in essence, never take off. Really, I could sit here with like 20 followers for like the next 5 years, and just it'd be a waste of time for me to have spent like 200 quid on a headset. So yeah, in life even, set your goals smaller. Obviously, have an end goal in mind. Have something that you really want to work to, a dream, as if we're being cheesy about it. But to get to that dream, that end goal, set yourself smaller goals. Like obviously, if we're talking like freely, my big dream in life is to go on to move abroad and eventually at some point have enough money to, if I ever have kids, take them around the world and go on holiday and stuff. Obviously, the pandemic would falter that right at the moment, but like hopefully in 20 years when I actually have reached where I want to be in life, it wouldn't be a thing. But my goal is to have all that. I want to move and live in America. It's somewhere I've always wanted to move to. Just the land itself is something I find really attractive and pretty and stuff like that. And obviously that is not something that's going to happen overnight. And the way I want to do it is obviously through my hairdressing. But I need to finish my college education and hairdressing. And because for a long time I was looking at it with the scope of where I want to be, it was scaring me to even take the step to get where I need to be next to reach there, because I've set my goal so far away from me that a single misstep is failure. If I applied for college, got into college, but failed an exam, that's that whole, because my sight was only on this dream and not the goals beforehand, the goalposts. It meant that a failure just completely knocked that away, and I wouldn't be able to achieve it. But with everything I'm doing now, taking that first step to reaching where I want to be, something, knowing that I'm not going to be there tomorrow, it's helping me a lot with stuff that I need to do with my actual life. Like, I intend to apply for college next year for finishing my hairdressing, because I never actually managed to finish it completely. And that's something I obviously want to do so that I can get a job in a salon. And then eventually, my next goal after that would be getting a job, if I can, in a cruise, get a managerial position in salons and stuff. And then, get my visa to move to America, look for work there. Eventually, get a official visa to live there, citizenship maybe. And yeah, so it's always small stepping stones. But whilst I've got this goal of where I want to be, and all these little stepping stones that is where I need to be, right now, all I'm looking at stepping stone wise is I need to apply for college. That's my goal right now. And I'm not applying this year for other reasons, because I'm focusing on so much else in my life. But next year, my full intention is to apply for college. And then if I fail, try again, apply for college, and just keep trying until I reach where I need to be for that first step that I want to reach, that first goal I want to reach. And then look at what's my next goal. And I apologize, I've ranted on for ages there. So if you two wanted to get a word in, and how these kind of views help you with your lives.
I mean, you hear people say that a lot. Life is about the journey and not the destination. That's really important. Like if your goal is, whatever your goal is, and you just jump straight there, or you think you're going to jump straight there, then you're going to miss the whole point. So it's kind of good that you have to set smaller goals and work towards those, as opposed to just, achieving, getting everything you want just handed to you on a silver platter. It's it's all about setting those goals and making the journey. Otherwise, it's just pointless in the end.
Yeah,
Because it's not going to be as gratifying to get what you want if you haven't worked for it, is it?
oh,
You have to work for it.
Yeah, like set a goal, but at least know that it's not a straight road. There will be some zigzagging and everything coming in the way on your way to the goal. There can be a lot of different things. So
Yeah, I think failing as well is extremely important because that's what helps you grow as a person. If you fail at goals and you learn from mistakes that you make.
Yeah, I was about to say it's less about failing is important and more handling failure is important.
yeah,
Because that is another thing as well, is failing can be so dissuasive. It can really put you off doing anything really. And like when I went to counseling recently, they said that my biggest problem is that I'm scared to take that step because of the failure. And it's true, I was for a long time. Those first steps weren't the scary part then. The scare was if I do start, I could fail, and then just 10 years could go by and I've not achieved anything because I keep failing. But then I wasn't trying because I was scared of that failure. But then because I wasn't trying, 10 years have gone by and I've not achieved anything. So it was like this horrible cycle I'd got myself into where I was scared to take a step for failure, but really I was failing just by not taking that step. If
Yeah,
that makes sense.
I mean, you shouldn't really let failure be the thing that dissuades you from doing something. It's like it's the same thing with me and my projects. I know I can fail at them, but I'm going to give it a damn good try. And if I make mistakes or fail at certain things, then I learn to move around them and find a solution.
yeah.
So, what is it that you two actually want to, long term? What is like your vision for your future? Say 5 years from now, where could you see yourself?
It's a tricky one, isn't it?
It
Big one.
is a tricky one. Yeah, that is indeed a good question because
Do you have a vision for where you would like it to go? Because obviously we have a pretty casual gaming channel. That's one thing
yeah,
that me and you, Slandy, have definitely said that this is not something we want to give up, even if tomorrow, 5 years time, we still only
yeah,
have 26 subscribers. I think we're at 27 subscribers now on our YouTube channel and 17 followers on Twitch. Even
yeah.
if that's still what we have in 5 years, I don't want to give up.
Oh,
All it takes really is for one decent video,
yeah.
and then someone might see it, and then we might have more viewers.
For
And
me personally, it is to focus on pretty casual gaming and my own personal Twitch channel.
so is being
That
like a full-time streamer like something you want to do?
I don't think so. I think a full-time streamer will put too much pressure on me. But
So a hobby for now, really.
yeah, and then with my anxiety going on in real life and everything, I don't think I will find a full-time job, which is also why I'm in this system I'm in Denmark at the moment, where we are supposed to find out how much work I can manage before my anxiety kicks in and everything, before I break completely down. So, so I do hope I will find some kind of flex job where it is that the government will pay some of the money. Let's say if I find a job that within the next 4 years, and the government has accepted it. So, like, say I can manage around 15 hours in that job, then the company will will give the 5 or 15 hours, and then the government will pay the rest. So I have a suitable living for myself with the hours I can maintain. So that is what I hope, and then I do hope I can have the pretty casual gaming on my own Twitch as a hobby on the side.
So Logic, I'd assume yours would be something to do with your developing. Obviously,
Yeah.
I know you're working currently on a game engine, and obviously
Yeah,
there's the joke that we have between ourselves that you never finish out. But I'm just assuming at some point
it is making headway slowly. It is pushing through. That's the you're right there.
No, I think there's a wasp trying to get in my room. I'm sorry.
That's right. I think the goal for me at the moment is pretty much to figure out how to develop a game engine which is a huge task. It's like you're supposed to work in a group to do that. You do hear of people one-man armying the thing, and they say, yeah, I got it done, but it took like years and years, and that is how long it takes. But eventually that will give me the knowledge that I need to then go on to other things, if I do actually manage to get it complete, which I hope to and plan to. Will allow me to go either work for game development companies or start my own. Not sure exactly which direction I want to go yet, whether I want to work for other people or have people work for me, or just freelance and work for myself, which is honestly the best, because obviously the programming world is a hostile one, and a difficult one as well, because you have to program to other people's specifications as opposed to your own, and that's a very difficult thing to do when when you're self-taught and you've spent your entire life learning one specific way to do things, and then people come along and tell you, oh no, that's wrong, we want you to do it this way, and you just have to suck it up and do it their way. That's something I
live.
struggle. That's something I struggle with a little bit. So that's why I don't really know which direction I want to go later down the line. But at the moment, the long-term goal is program and develop an entire game engine and editor, so that I have something I can at least work with, and then maybe I can develop games with it afterwards to sell. Who knows? We will see. I mean, game engines you can sell. You can charge people royalty fees for using, so it could sustain itself if it's successful, which is the big thing. So I think that's pretty much my goal at the moment.
Well, if we had to do 5 years time, because obviously I've told you that I don't believe my thing would be something I could reach until maybe 20, 30 years. So if I had to set myself a 5-year goal, it would be maybe be done with college for hairdressing and barbering, then probably apply for a job, get some work in a salon, get something comfortable and that, and then obviously pretty casual gaming is a thing, because right now it's a hobby, and I'd love for it to become something more as a full-time thing, but at the same time, the hairdressing is something I really want to do. So it would be about trying to find a balance between the two. I'd probably put some of the money that I get from my hairdressing into the channel, but then still try to make sure that my channel is managed in a way that I can, work in the work that I want to do, which is the hairdressing. So it really, that's my big thing in 5 years, is reaching the point with a hairdressing where I can actually be working, but also figuring out how to balance the pretty casual gaming and the hairdressing as well. Thankfully, one of the things that's beneficial is that obviously this is something that we've designed at base level as a joint person's project. That's what we said it was going to be, a joint person's project right from the beginning. It was never meant to be a single person. And I think that's what's going to help me personally. I don't know about you two, obviously, because we each have our own opinions. But I feel like this channel will do better than my prior channel, not just because of a change in how I perceive how it's going to grow, but because I've tried to build a structure here wherein we can all lean on each other, and so none of us should burn out. Obviously, I'm useless when it comes to the editing process, so that's something maybe at some point I could learn to really help ease off some of the workload. But I don't know if you guys see the channel like how I do.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's nice to have the ability to rotate different people. I have seen like not very many channels where there are multiple people who push content out to it, but when they do, it's usually pretty good. It's
Yeah,
it helps you around a lot of the problems, like burnout and things like that. It helps give people, it helps give viewers variety. You never know, maybe I will even stream some games to it, you know, if I'm really feeling like it. Like we can just, we can even do joint things. So
yeah,
it's a good way to, get around some of the problems that you get with streaming.
Yeah. Obviously, Slandy has his own channel, so he'll always have that to fall back on if this blows up in our face. But
yeah.
having known Slandy a few years now, I don't feel like he'll just abandon us for no reason.
Nope, 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 nope.
So being on the channel Logix, joining like our group, obviously one of the things you've been anxious about is being live in podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to ask Slandy, going off that, how is it that you, because obviously you've been the longest out of us as a streamer, how is it you originally, because you go live more than or pretty much everything you do is live. So how is it you got over that live anxiety?
How do I build that? I guess I spend when I plan I want to stream. I think actually just the moment you press the start streaming button, that is actually the hardest point. Actually, because when you press that button, you immediately switch your brain because you have to be watching everything. Like you have to watch the chat, you have to watch uh the games you play or whatever tema subject you're doing with the live. So it's like you build up all the anxiety before you actually go live, and then it slowly fades away at the moment you click start, because then it's like, for me at least, it is like I'm ready. Now is the time, basically.
Well, that's sort of what you did with the podcast, because obviously I'd asked you like a year before we
Yeah,
started, and then we kind of didn't talk about it for a while, and then one day I came up to you and was like, have you thought any more about that thing that we talked about a year ago? And you were just like, let's just do it, let's just go.
yeah. As that that is the best plan. Like with training, it is the first steps that is always the hardest, and I don't feel like that will go away. But when you have taken the first step, you know what you're going into the next time and everything. So that kind of helps a bit. And when also it might feel hard to start at times, but when you get into it, it slowly fades away, and all of the problems like you were thinking about is just gone when you see the people in the chat, people saying hi and everything. It just fades away. So I think it's more it is just the anxiety where you have to like push over.
Soldier through it.
Yeah. So and
Yeah, that's kind of a skill of its own. Is when all of that anxiety builds up, you need to just be able to purge it from your mind and just
yeah,
go, right, let's do this.
yeah.
Yeah, sure.
You need to push yourself. So yeah,
I,
just like you said when we were talking about the podcast here a year ago, and then we haven't talked about it for a long time. And then you asked me, and I just said, let's do it. Let's find a date and just throw ourselves out there, because we can continue to talk and talk and talk, but actually make the first step is the hardest for everything.
Yeah, obviously we have our slip-ups, even in like it just then any conversation just went dead because I didn't fucking think where to take it next. Like we are still young, right? Like this is only episode 8 of the podcast.
Yeah,
we're still at a point where we're going to trip, and even if we're in like 200 episodes, there's still going to be that moment where you can just brain fart and it's dead water. You're dead. What really is the point now is, again, it's the soldiering on, accepting that we just fucked up and continuing. Rather than just going, well, that's a disaster. This whole episode's ruined. Throw it in the bin. We're done.
Yeah. So yeah, I still have time where it's hard to click on the start on my own stream at times, and but it is just that start button which is so hard.
The looming start button of evil.
It is really evil. When I first started streaming, I was exactly the same. I was just staring at that button, like staring a hole in the screen for like 10 minutes, and I'm like, you need to press that button sometime, otherwise you're just gonna waste your entire day. So then you just do that. You just blank your mind. You say, right, fuck it, press the button, and off you go, and then everything's fine after that. You realize that all of your fears were literally nothing, and self-perpetuating.
But I think it's because before you have your own ideas of how this stream will go and everything, and all the anxiety being built upon it before you actually start. So when you basically click on start, you have overthought everything you basically could do, and it's just running now, and you can see the people coming in and talking, and you saying hi back to them and everything, and continue the game and stuff, and it just falls in place slowly.
Well, there's some irony in the thought that thinking in of itself is probably one of the most depressing things you can do.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not trying to make this a depressing stream, because obviously the whole subject was about happiness and that, but thinking really, when you let your mind really think on a subject, that's when you're going to dissuade yourself. You've just got to, as you said, Logix, you put it best, you've just got to blank your mind and do it.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing to do. I mean, it happens to me all the time. Like,
I
if I'm going
mean,
to sleep, sometimes my brain will just be like, "Oh, you're going to start thinking now about how you're going to die," and I'm like, "Well, that's fantastic. I wanted to sleep." So you have to practice being able to just like blank your mind. It's hard to do, but once you learn how to do it, it's easy to do, and it becomes a necessary skill. It's extremely helpful.
I actually quit smoking last year because, as you know, Logix, I used to smoke. And I went to the doctors, and they were like, they'd said for a while, it's probably your smoking that's giving you all these problems. I wouldn't hear any of it. I'm only a social smoker. I only smoke on occasion. It's fine. But I'd got to the point where I was really struggling to breathe, and I was struggling to sleep because I was struggling to breathe. And it's just, I woke up one day and I was like, I'm going to stop smoking. And that was it. I just did. I didn't pick up a cigarette. And since that moment when I said I'm just going to stop, I haven't touched a cigarette since. And I've thought about it. Don't get me wrong. Especially when people smoke nearby me, the smell. There's always that thought, oh, just a social one. It's fine. But it's just about just keeping to what you've set your mind to.
It is.
And obviously for everyone, it's a little different, because obviously there's people who are way more addicted to smoking than I ever was. But it really is just set your mind to it and do what your mind said. And if you are reaching a point where you start to think of reasons why you should do something, and I'm going to use gaming to prove a prime example of my own problems, because quitting smoking was easy for me, but one of the things that I had to quit for myself for health reasons that was really hard for me was I used to play World of Warcraft, and I played it every day for like from the moment I got up out of bed until the moment I went to bed. And even when I was at school, it would be the moment I got up, I'd go on World of Warcraft. I'd do as much as I possibly could before I got picked up to go to school. Then the moment I got dropped off at home, World of Warcraft. I didn't go to grab something to eat. I probably would have forgotten to eat if it really came to it. And the thing is I didn't even enjoy the game. I didn't even duo on it. Most of the time I just stood around in Stormwind doing nothing. And so eventually reached a point where I had to just completely get myself off it. And it really was, you've really got to put, it was, I just had to get in my mind that I need to quit. And not even for the health reasons. I just need to quit because I'm not enjoying it. I'm not, it's not serving me any real purpose. And ever since then, I've had tons of moments where I've thought to myself, oh, I could give it a little try, see how it is now. It might not be so bad. And like that is my advice to you, is that is the worst thing you can do, is try make an excuse to go back to something. No matter what it is, if you're trying to quit something, just quit it. Don't mentally find an excuse or a reason. And the big one obviously is hard moments in your life. We all have them. Everyone has hard moments in their life. That's life. The best way I've ever heard it put is actually on America's Got Talent. I watched it the other week, and someone on there said, "You can't wait for life to stop being bad before you try be happy." And like that really is the truth. You just cannot wait. You just got to try be happy, because at the end of the day, you don't want to live a miserable life. Happiness is great. But when you, as I say, once you start making excuses, that's your brain just denying that you need to be quitting something. And so, just, again, it's to quote Shia LaBeouf in the most memey way possible: just do it, just quit, just be happy. And obviously, I say that knowing that it's not that easy, but it is also the only way to do it. Ironically,
Yeah.
It's not easy, but it is the way to do it. Is to just do it. With everything in life, if you want to reach something, if you want to reach a goal, go for it. If you want to quit something, go for it. If you say you have a girl that you fancy and you want to ask her out, and obviously I know that's when anxiety really bloody kicks in, but you've just got to soldier through it, because anxiety is just there to give you an excuse to not do something. And if you don't, as I said earlier with the whole fear of failure part, if you don't reach for something, you will never achieve it. You may be scared of a failure, and that's why you don't do it, but that in and of itself is failure. So just reach for everything that you want to achieve, but manage the way you're doing it is the best way. First steps, first goal, second goal, end goal.
Yeah, going back to what you said about, like, just do it, and like, if you, I don't know, if you want to do something and you're putting it off for whatever reason, whatever fear it is, then you're going to be kicking yourself later down the line when you don't do it. Like,
Oh yeah, for
if
sure.
there's a girl that you like, ask her out, because at the end of the day, you will hate yourself for not doing it, And going a little bit further back to the World of Warcraft thing, you've got to, the big step is realize, like, other people can say, oh, you have a problem, or you're doing something that's making you unhappy, and you might not realize it. So internalizing that and realizing that for yourself, and then making that push to stop doing something is extremely important.
Oh yeah.
And that's when you look back and you introspect and you go, oh yeah, actually this thing is making me unhappy and affecting my health, mental or physical, and I need to stop. And then whenever you get that little itch to go back to something, slap yourself on the wrist and say no.
Yeah.
Which is, it's not easy to do, but you learn to do it. And once you make a habit of that, then eventually those thoughts will just stop happening. They stop manifesting themselves entirely.
So long as you're not going out your way to hurt someone, or what you're doing is not going to hurt someone, do what you need to do to be happy in and of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's going to make decisions that are going to push people away from you. I know that personally, because I really struggle to keep people close to me. As Logix has known me all my life, and I've always had a way of speaking, of thinking that pushes people away. And for a long time, I hated myself for that. And I really would just try be this person I was not to, keep people around me. But I learned I'm happiest when I'm being me, even if some people, and in honesty, most people aren't happy with that. I'm not actually physically doing them harm. I'm not mentally doing them harm most of the time. Obviously, I'm not perfect, which is the rare moment I'm actually going to say that. But I'm not perfect. There's always going to be moments where you slip up. But so long as you're not hurting anyone, you have to do what you can do to be happy in yourself. Because at the end of the day, most people in your life, ironically, are not going to be there in like a year. I've met plenty of people in like the last 10 years of my life that I don't speak to now. And then I have like I can literally probably fit the people I know on my hand that are still people I talk to now that I've known for a long time. Logix obviously being one of them. And, those other people who I was worried for so long about trying to please and make happy, they're not even here anymore. And I'm the one who has to live with the decisions I've made. I'm the one who has to live with the happiness that I'm trying to make for myself. So you've got to be trying to make yourself happy first. So long as you're not stepping on someone else to reach that happiness, truly trying to be happy is the best thing you can do for yourself.
Yeah,
It is.
definitely. I'm the same. You just have to realize the people that aren't happy with you are, the people you're just going to comb out. You're just going to weed them out.
Yeah.
That's okay. You have to. That's part of growing up as a person, is realizing that's okay. Those people are obviously just not meant to be in your life. You just move on from them.
Have
Sorry,
you
Slandy
experienced that?
was going to say something.
Yeah, I was going to say, have you experienced that, Slandy?
Not personally, but you do.
Oh, check out Mr. Perfect over here.
but I always had a small friendship relation, whatever you call it. So I can barely count my real life friends on two hands, basically.
Well, I hope we're included. I am a friend. Just because we've not met.
Oof.
Oof.
Oof. So but what I mean, like your childhood friends, you know them and they know you and stuff. So and like like my elementary school, when I think it was 6th or 7th grade, I don't talk to any one of them at all. And that was like in classes of, I think it was 20 people, so I don't talk to one of them. And the ones I talk with mostly is my childhood friends and my brother's friends and so on. But you do hear about people who are in like bad relations and they
Well, I've had
actually and when they figure that out and they get out of that group or something, they instantly turn out to be a better person or happier person in that sense.
If they figure it out.
Yeah, if they figure it out.
And as Logic said, at the end of the day, you can tell someone as much as you like, but until they learn themselves that it's
Yeah.
bad for them.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, life is about taking responsibility for yourself, both in the things you've done bad and your happiness. Only you can. I always forget the saying. It's something like manifest life or something like that. And it's true. Like only you can really lead your life where you want it to be. Obviously, there's always going to be outside influences. There's nothing you can do to stop that. But you can't control any of that. You can only control the decisions you make to get to the places you want to be.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, and how you deal with, the way people treat you, I suppose.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I mean,
it's like know your own limits and your own personality and everything. If you learn those, you will probably have a good life and a happy life if you figure those two things out. I I would say.
Well, I just actually looked at the amount of time we've been streaming, and I said that I estimated that this might be an hour at most, and we've gone over that. So, for the sake of all of us, I'm going to say that we can leave this little lesson in inspiration and hope and life and end there.
Yeah.
I have a few things that I have to say announcement-wise, but first, I will let you say any announcements you have for your channel, Slandy.
Yeah, on Friday I will be streaming some Final Fantasy 14 on Slanderman Twitch TV and some random game set on some of the other days. So that's it.
And Logic, if you want to let anyone know anything you're doing.
Nothing in particular at the moment.
Besides your gaming engine. Maybe that'll be out to developers soon.
Hopefully.
So, as Sonny said, you can find him on slanderman.twitch.tv. I don't know
Yeah.
how it's spelled. Twitch.tv/Slanderman. That's
Yeah,
it.
that's it.
You obviously, if you're watching this currently on Twitch, you know where to find us. But for those on YouTube, it's twitch.tv/prettycasualgaming. For those of you on Twitch, you can find us on YouTube. I cannot tell you the bloody address because it has numbers and stuff I don't know off by heart. We have a Discord for both of channels if you want to join that. You can find it if you go to our YouTube. You can find it in the descriptions there for those of you on Twitch. If you're on YouTube, just look in the bloody description. Current plans for content onto the YouTube is we have another episode of my Haven playthrough that will be getting uploaded at some point. Obviously, this will be uploaded to YouTube at some point. If you write this part, you already know. Next week will be our next podcast because this came late because of Slanderman being ill. Actually, it's Logix who chose the topic for our next podcast. The first thing he did when we finally officialized him as a member, and that's going to be about the characteristics that make a good or bad both antagonist and protagonist in video games. We'll have talks about a few characters from all different games, so please tune into that. That will probably be live because we haven't sorted out which ones will be live and which ones won't be yet. So that's probably going to be live. For everyone who's watched on Twitch, thank you for joining us. It was great to have our first podcast. It was way less scary than I think all of us thought it was going to be.
Yep.
And I want to thank obviously both my co-hosts for being with me today with this podcast and letting me design a podcast in which we had absolutely no planning for other than me saying, oh, it would just be us chatting casually. There was no planning in this whatsoever, and it's all my fault. And I would also like to thank them for being great editors because before we spent like an hour and a bit before this editing, and when I say we, I mean those two did, and I sat there on a sofa doing nothing. I really don't give as much to his channel as these two do, so please give them love and comments on YouTube if you're there, and in the chat if you're here. Other than that, there's really nothing much left to say. So Slandy, please put in our outro music. And bye YouTube and Twitch.
You're welcome for the stream, Tema. Hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you all next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
So the question is, should we host someone now or not?